Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome Dr. Mona Mehta, who is the editor of Speaking Tree Times of India. Thank you so much, Dr. Mehta, for joining us and for giving us your valuable time. Today, we'll be discussing depression, how we can overcome depression and work on ways to improve our mental well being. So, let's begin with the first question. It's a very common question that people ask and we all face. It is, how can we overcome the stress that we face or the frustration that we face when we experience or suffer failure?
Thank you so much for having me over. I'm not a spiritual master or an expert, but by way of being part of the Speaking Tree and at a professional level and with a spiritual movement called Pranam at personal level, a lot of spiritual wisdom has come my way and I've tried to learn something and imbibe. So I will try and share my experiences with you. Regarding failure leading to stress and anxiety, this is a very common thing. This happens to best of us. But the key lies in how soon can we recover from it? How soon can we overcome it, not let it overwhelm us and get through? Now, the key in all of this, I realize over the years is that failure and success, they are both like twins. One follows the other, just like night and day. One follows the other. Happiness, sorrow, wherever there is one, another partner is bound to be there. And it is a very common thing. It's like a child, you gets up, walks, stumbles, falls, gets up again, falls, runs. So this is part of life, I feel. And because it is part of life, it's going to continue happening. The key would be how to stay sort of transcend it. And this is where Bhagavad Gita, for instance, inspires us that in all of this, it's important to stay sthit pragya, as they say. It means equanimity, meaning whatever is happening, don't let it affect you. Stay above it all, witness it, and deal with it full-fledgedly, meaning deal with it with all your capacities, all your physical, mental capacities. But the key would be to continue working. I mean, at no point, like sometimes when failure, we get overwhelmed by it, something unsuccessful, something hasn't happened according to our wishes. We often, either we would get anxious and stressed and, fall in a heap. That also happens. Or else we have a choice. We use that energy instead of trying to circumvent it. We try and use it to go through it, meaning going through it rather than avoiding it, using our mind or wasting our energy in avoiding, suppressing. But instead of that, if we just go through it, we will be able to progress much further. If you meet with success, it's very good. This is the right path. This is the way to go. If you think what you have come across is failure, it's maybe you compare yourself to others, maybe you don't match up to your goals or aspirations that you had set up for yourself. So in this, it's important to also know that nothing is happening to you which is frivolous. Nothing is out of the blue. Everything is natural. Everything is coming to you to transform you, to help you grow. And the key would be here again, another key would be to go through it rather than to avoid it. Now, how would you go through it? You would go through it by channelizing your energy instead of wasting it on avoiding it, but channelizing it to do something creative, productive, using your faculties to bring out that aspect of your personality, that latent talent, which helps you overcome it. So when you go through it, you realize you actually feel proud of yourself that at the end you have developed some new skill, new talent, some newness has also come into you. You grow much faster that way. So failure and success, I think, should be seen as it's a win-win situation either way. You succeed, very good. This is the path to go. If you don't succeed, then also that this is something which is meant for my growth. This is going to make me shine further. So this is how I would see it.
a lot of spiritual wisdom coming from you. And I'll try to sum it up. A lot of points which you have mentioned. Very rightly, you said that we have to understand the nature of life. And the nature of life is that failure and success come and go. They are twins. I think that was a very profound point. And also the fact that the Gita guides us to adopt equanimity, meaning go through whatever comes your way rather than being affected by it negatively. Have the courage to muster the courage to face the situation, to meet the challenge. That's very important. And also the thing that you said, that success or failure, everything is a win-win situation for us, because success means you've fulfilled your plans. Failure means that you have not fulfilled your plans, but still there's something that you have learned from it. So that's a very profound wisdom. Thank you for sharing it. And I also totally agree with it. We all really have this fear of failure. The term failure itself means that you have failed, you have not been able to achieve, you have not been able to fulfill a goal of yours. And that is what is something that really demotivates us. We keep telling ourselves that we are incapable, we are unworthy, I wasn't able to do something, it seems that I won't be able to do anything in life, somebody else was able to accomplish their goals, but I did my best, but I couldn't. So it's so important to understand that the act of failure in itself is not something which is problematic. It is not something which is unnatural, but constantly feeding yourself with the thought, with the idea that you have shortcomings, with the idea that you have failed to make progress, is something which affects us negatively. So first of all, I believe it's so important for us to understand where our thoughts are going, because once we are able to shine a light on our thoughts, we are in a position to deal with them, we're in a position to face them. So it is so important to empower ourselves by first of all letting ourselves know what we are thinking, noticing our thoughts, because that is the way that we come in control. We are in control to disempower demotivating thoughts. We're in a position to rise. As you said, that a child falls, stumbles, and he rises up again. So we have to tell ourselves that failure is, or failing is like falling. You fall and you get up and you move on. Failure is not the end of life. So we have to really, it's so important to take up this challenge and talk back to your negative thoughts. Don't let them dominate you. And also this particular statement that you made about something, whatever that comes in our life is not random, it is not just happening out of the blue, it is meant to transform us. I feel this is also an extremely powerful aspect of human life, because see, when we fail, when we suffer failure or disadvantage, we get stressed out, and we all feel that if we are in stress, oh, it's so heavy upon me, I won't be able to do anything. But there is this other positive side of stress which we all need to know. And as you said, stress is a very different kind of a situation, because in that situation, we are not same as we were when we were not stressed out, when we were not under pressure, because that is when our mind works at a tremendous capacity. We release abundant amount of energy. And more than that, it is also seen that we can focus on the situation very minutely, so that we can, use all our reserves to manage and find a solution. So stress is something which helps in making our brains grow. It enriches us. As you said, it transforms us. And it has also been said that if you want your brain to continue functioning as you age, it's very important for you to allow it to, or subject it to, the mental challenges of life. Because if your brain is performing, functioning properly, if you are subjecting it to the stresses and strains of life, then it will preserve its function even later on in life. But if you have, or if I have this habit of surrounding myself with ease and comfort, then my brain will fall into disuse and it would be to my own detriment. So it is so important for us to know that if there is a situation which pushes us out of our comfort zone, we must not react to it. We should embrace it. We should really embrace these mental challenges which come our way. As you said, it's a win-win situation. We should not run away from it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this,
I
yes.
would like to add a thing, just like a small child, a toddler, when he learns to walk, he falls sometimes, in the beginning, just to stand on his own 2 feet, he will try and grab things and repeatedly make attempts to stand. And when he does, he's so proud of himself. There is this very fantastic gleam in his eyes that he wants to show to the world that, oh, I've managed to do this. There is this great, immense sense of joy at having overcome or gone through the challenges and risen above them. Even a baby can show it. So in that sense, we, by using our mind and over exercising our mind, getting swept by the current of failure and getting depressed, we are just depriving ourselves of that joy, that childlike joy of something, accomplishing something new, and having another aspect of our personality come forth. And like you rightly said, the whole situation requires us to accept, become aware of our thinking, accept, and third A is act. Acting meaning action, doing karma is extremely important, because the moment you stop action, you stop working on yourself, doing karma, you are absolutely gone. You are going to be swamped with all kinds of gloomy thoughts. So action at all cost is important, and action would mean whatever is in front of you, you handle it to the best of your ability. Once you've done that, without looking at the results, just living in the moment and doing the best, without an eye on the results. I mean, you're just doing the best you can in a certain situation. That's it. And naturally and automatically you become de-linked from the result. If you do it selflessly, and I've noticed several times, when you're just there in the moment, focused in the now, you not really bothered about the results. You've done your best. Ab jo hoga, whatever will be. So I remember reading the mother Pondicherry, her writing, and she said that moment you come into that state where success or failure doesn't bother you, you've done your best, then you must know that you are very close to accomplishing your goal. So that is one more reason why being equanimous, maintaining equanimity, and doing the best that you have in front of you will help. That you will automatically be drawn, or you'll be sort of moved towards your goal. And failure will just be a figment of imagination.
Yes, as you said, aware, accept, and act. This is the 3-point formula which we really have to bear in mind. We should not stop doing something about the situation. As you were speaking, I also was reminded of this article which Maulana wrote for the Speaking Tree. And he said that, in that article, he said that, whenever you face any kind of a problem, you should know that you possess something which is greater than the problem, and that is the mind. Mind is the greatest problem-solving machine that you possess. You are very well equipped to face all the problems of life. So don't shut off your mind. Act. Put your act together, as you rightly said. So thank you very much, and let's move on to the next question that we have. And that question is about, as we all know, we're facing unprecedented times. We're going through a pandemic, and it's been raging since past more than a year now. And people have had various kinds of responses to the pandemic. People are anxious, they are uncertain about the future. Many are even suffering from feelings of loneliness. So how should we cope up with these feelings that we are experiencing in these unprecedented times?
COVID, yes, this pandemic has been very strenuous for the best of us, and it has affected us. Many of us have lost our loved ones. We've gone through grief and troubled times, job losses, of course, followed by isolation and depression. So it has been a tough time. But the most important thing to, as far as grief is concerned, as far as loss of near and dear ones is concerned, it is something that we have no control over. I mean, even outside COVID times, we do face this at some point or the other in our life, losing a near and dear one. That needs to be accepted as a will of God, and that's the only way to look at it. And secondly, would be that whoever has left you, we need to sort of reflect on what was their life mission. What were they actually busy with? What was the task that has been left undone by them? And the best way to deal with your grief would be to devote yourself in taking it forward, taking their mission forward, fulfilling their unfulfilled task. This is the best way to sort of, I feel, to deal with the grief aspect. As far as other changes in one's life are concerned, I mean, you have job losses, several things which we've all faced, or our near and dear ones have faced. This is all about, I think, change. And in this, it's very important sometimes to have a practice, a regular sadhana or a spiritual practice, which can sort of help you see through the change. Change is constant. Now it is because of the pandemic. Otherwise, it will be some other form. So change is constant. It always is happening. The point is how resilient we are and how we build ourselves at both body, mind, and soul level to deal and handle or go through change. The idea is not to manage it. I mean, when you say manage, it is very egoistic to say, I will manage divine's design. I mean, who am I? I can't even blink my eye without the divine wish. Now, all I can do is sort of keep myself abreast change, meaning move along with it. How do I do that? I feel that at the body level, we need to take up change, meaning take care of your body, exercise, follow a proper diet, build your immunity. And this way, this is one way at the physical level. At the mental level, it is important to get into the practice of looking at silver lining. In whatever happens to you, there is a silver lining, because nothing happens in a random frivolous way. Everything comes to transform you, to make you, help you grow towards a better person, better than what you were yesterday, bringing out different aspects of your personality, to grow, to become something new, just like in nature, just like in children. So we too, as adults, need to remember that change is constant, and we need to constantly be along with it. So at the mental level, I think it helps to maintain a diary or take note of every situation that is happening, that we have to go through, deal with it in the best way possible, and also look at the silver lining. Everything has a silver lining. Everything opens doors to several other doors. And the point is not to resist change, because everything that is happening today, I feel, is to us is like a stepping stone. Some aspect of your personality will come up, and it will strengthen you for the next step of evolution. This is what I've been told. This is what I've read, and I experience it too. And mostly we resist change because we want change to be exactly the way we had thought, But the best part is that it is the divine design, the change that he has thought, the supreme consciousness has thought of for you. That is what will bring you growth. I mean, living, like you said so rightly, in our comfort zone may not help us move much further. But if we accept change and not resist it and go through it, and I'm not using the word manage it. I'm not using the word control it, suppress it. I'm saying go through it, because only when you go through it, you develop strength for the next step. You already are being prepared for the next step of evolution. So I think change is okay. Like you would, in these days of loneliness, I'm sure you would agree, people have utilized them to stay by themselves and, meditate and go in for these spiritual practices. That helps. That's a way of sort of utilizing whatever you have at hand and making the most of it. So, in a way, we need to welcome change and go through it smoothly. And for us to do that with ease, peace, and grace, it's very essential, one, to have a spiritual practice which will silence the mind chatter, which will give us peace and calm. And why this is essential is that when you are in the throes of change, it's important to get guidance as to what you need to do next. And how will you access that guidance? You need some sort of a practice which silences the chaos inside, and quietens the mind so that you can listen to the call of divine within. I feel so it's very essential to have a spiritual practice in this case.
Yeah, so very true when you said that change is constant and we must not have this tendency to resist change. And that accepting that is so important in going through much of life. And as you rightly said, that at the physical level, obviously, we have to be very active about keeping ourselves healthy. And at the mental level, we have to bear in mind the thought or the idea that there's always a silver lining. And also the fact that you said that whatever we go through is something which has been willed by the supreme consciousness, by the divine, by God Almighty, by the Creator. And that is something which gives a lot of strength and hope that this is something which is not happening, waywardly. It is happening because some higher being, some intelligent being who has created me, who's in control of everything, has decided it. And therefore, there has to be some aspect of positivity in it, and I have to extract that positivity. And also the point that you mentioned about having a spiritual practice, it is so important. The way you expressed it was very nice. You said that when we are in the throes of change, we need some guidance. And we can, tap into that guidance only if we silence our mind, if we calm ourselves, and we connect to the divine, connect to the Creator. It was so important. And I totally agree that we all have been seeing the pandemic as something which has disrupted our normal life, our routine life, and there's a lot of reaction to it. But I was reading that we all must remember that there are certain eternal principles that govern human life. And one of them, the most paramount of all, is that we all human beings have been created in such a way, we are such that we can really withstand things which are negative, which are challenging and difficult for us. So we have that ability, and you said that we have resilience in us. And it's so true that just as you stretch an elastic band, after if you leave it, it will come back to its original position. So similarly, we human beings, even after we go through something which is difficult, something that creates anguish or sorrow, we bounce back to our original position, to our original state of mind. We have that ability in us. So we must always remember this. And whenever we face anything difficult, we should tap into this inner strength, which each one of us has. And also, as you were mentioning, we must exercise, we must eat right, we must keep our bodily immune system in proper order. And there's also this concept of working on your psychological immune system. And there's a psychological or a mental immune system which we all have been endowed with, just as we all have been bestowed with a physical immune system. So this psychological immune system is something that helps us through crisis. It naturally comes to our help when we face difficult situations. And one of the ways that it really helps us is that it makes us make or take the best of whatever situation life gives to us. And this is a quality which can be called as adjusting and adapting to the situation that life gives to you, life throws at you. So this is why, as you said, we shouldn't resist. We should try to see what is it that I can learn from the situation. How can I adapt and adjust to the situation rather than wanting to change it and overthrow the situation, because that would cause a lot of mental chaos and mental frustration. I'm not being able to change the situation. I want it to change. Instead of that, try to understand how you can adapt to it, how you can adjust to the situation, and you have the ability to do that. So as you are also rightly saying, many people who have reported that their levels of well-being increased in the pandemic. They adjusted to the pandemic. And one of the very important ways they did that was they hit a pause button to their lives, because we all were isolated. Our life changed completely. We were not commuting. People stopped traveling. They stopped vacationing. They stopped shopping around and meeting friends. And that really helped us to pause and reflect a bit on the kind of lives that we are leading. And as the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has said, that a wise person or an intelligent person has certain special moments in life. A moment he has, which is in communion with the Creator, wherein he is sitting and in solitude, interacting with his Creator in whispers. He's speaking to his Lord. There is a moment wherein he reflects on the mysteries of creation or the wonders of nature. There is a moment when he thinks about his own inner being. What kind of a person is he becoming? And there is a moment which he sets aside for eating, drinking, or earning money. So, in these COVID times, we've really been presented this opportunity to work on our inner selves, to self-introspect, to self-examine our lives. So I was reading about this lady who, when she was at the hospital receiving oxygen through the ventilator, towards the end of her period of hospitalization, she was handed over the bill. And that really struck her and made her so grateful for the oxygen that she had been receiving all through her life, and which she had ignored and not even thought about. So we need to inculcate gratitude in our lives. This is something which we have really learned through COVID, because we neglected everything that we are receiving so smoothly. And once it was not being given to us in a smooth way, we realized how dependent we are on it. And similarly, there's this historian, Yuval Noah Harari, who said that in spite of all our advancements, we human beings have really learned through COVID that we are fragile, we're inherently vulnerable and weak. And this has instilled a kind of collective humility in us. We have been able to cultivate this attitude of modesty, this value and virtue of modesty, which has been so much missing. And also the point that you spoke about personal loss and how we can learn from the personal loss that we have all experienced. Somebody or the other close to us has died, and that has come across as a great shock. You said very, very nicely and very profoundly that we must think about what was the life mission of that person who was close to us, who passed away, and how can we devote our lives to carrying forward that mission of that person's life. It is so profound. It makes death something which can spiritually uplift us. It can make death an experience of learning for us rather than an experience of grief. And moreover, it also helps us to reflect on our own selves. What kind of a legacy do we want to leave behind when we die? What kind of values do we want to be remembered for? So these are certain things which I believe the pandemic has really taught us. And more importantly, it has also trained us in understanding that, you said in the beginning, we cannot control everything in life. There's so many things which are beyond our control, which we cannot but accept as they come to us. They are unavoidable, they're inevitable. So we have been trained in this art of accepting that we cannot change things around us, but we can change things within us. We cannot really control the factors outside of us, but we can really control our response, our emotional states, our mental states, our behaviors, our reaction to the situation. So I remember when Gandhi ji once wrote a letter to a person, he said that I am in a place where I'm surrounded by disturbance, chaos, and anarchy. But within me, there is peace and calm and serenity. I'm not allowing the external disruptions to create internal disruption. And I think we, through the pandemic, really have to take this training and spiritual learning. Because you said, everything happens to transform. Everything helps in making our personality shine forth in a way that it did not earlier. So these are certain very important learnings which we all really have to take from the pandemic if we want to make it something which was not just a moment of grief, a period of loss, a period of anxiety and uncertainty. So that brings us to our final and last question, which is that we all know that we're living in times wherein we are surrounded by material advancement and material abundance. But still, there is this feeling of hollowness that some people claim that they have, in spite of leading a luxurious lifestyle. So, how do we address that? How do we overcome the depression that is in people in spite of leading comfortable and luxurious lives?
You're absolutely right. I mean, we've never been so prosperous as a human race as we are right now. And there are more instances of people getting into depression and being disturbed by it and not being able to function properly. I feel that what is missing is our focus. We're focusing too much on happiness through external means, and which we over the years have realized never works. Like you would agree that one desire would lead to another. You accomplish one and then fulfill it, get some happiness, but it's going to be very short-lived. And similarly, you continue, and this is going to be a perpetuating cycle, and it doesn't really help, doesn't really give you immense joy, which will prevent any depression, etc. I think what is needed here is to change our focus from these twins, happiness and sadness, and night and day, and sorrow and joy and failure and success. It's very important to go for things which do not have opposites, to seek things which do not have opposites. I mean, bliss, for instance, bliss which comes, true joy which comes from connecting with the divine within and working accordingly in sync with what the divine will is. That kind of joy, there is no opposite to it. So if we seek, instead of seeking happiness in things, it's probably a good idea to seek that happiness, that thing which does not have an opposite, because that is going to be perpetual. There is no opposite. It doesn't bring anything along. And so if you seek bliss, for instance, in everything that you do, in your thinking, in your way of working, in your functioning, which means working in sync with what the divine voice inside says, that helps you, I think, overcome this short-lived happiness and helps you transcend this happiness and, the cycle of twins which follow one after the other. Two, I feel that other than changing our thought process, what is also essential is that we try and look for a purpose in life. Right from the beginning, I think it's parents should be inculcating this habit in children, and themselves should be practicing it, and all of us should be too, whenever a situation comes, just to think, what is it that I can offer? Thinking beyond yourself, thinking beyond your I, me, myself, everything about you, everything should be according to your wishes, according to the way you want. Beyond that, thinking beyond that, having a purpose in life, and thinking about the others outside yourself, your family, your community, your country, your world, sort of having a purpose in the sense, trying to take care, show consideration, concern for others. Others meaning others who are also part of the same creation. It's God's creation. One way of connecting with the divine would be to serve his creation. So when you take some time out from your very busy schedule to show concern, care, compassion for others, like we have seen during the COVID times, it gives you immense joy. The joy is so much, that kind of joy which does not have an opposite, which does not come with any contradictions. It is so immense that there is no scope for any iota of depression to stay within. You are so full of that. It gives you immense happiness of the real kind, true joy. So I feel it's important to sort of turn it around and not look for happiness in things outside, or look for things which have opposites, rather than go for bliss, which comes from connecting with divine. And for this, of course, you will need to inculcate a good spiritual practice. In all of this, you do need to have a spiritual practice, which a sadhana of sorts, which will sort of silence, bring in calmness, tranquility, so that you can actually commune with the divine. I think that might sort of help in this.
Yes, so it's very true. You said that it's these days we are becoming so concerned about determining our happiness through external means. The more we acquire, we believe, the more we'll become happy. And this is something which gives us only short-lived happiness, because the moment our desire is fulfilled, after a period of time, we feel that it is not giving us the same kind of happiness that it gave us initially. So pursuing materialism, pursuing this idea of acquiring more and more in terms of worldly goods, etc., can never really satisfy us. We need something beyond the material. And very rightly you said that we need to look for a purpose in life. We ought to have a purpose in life, something which drives us through our life in everything that we do. And very appropriately, you also mentioned that we have to serve not only ourselves, but we have to go beyond ourselves. We have to take care of humanity, take care of people around us. And the kind of joy that gives you is really incomparable. And also the joy of connecting with the divine, that also is something which is so important. We all need to inculcate in ourselves this habit of finding a moment, finding some quiet moments during the day wherein we connect with our creator. And the Quran also says that it's only in the remembrance of God that hearts can find comfort and true tranquility. So this is something which we all have to really adopt in our lives. And I was also thinking that it is so important for us to have a higher purpose, a higher goal in our lives, because it is said that we need to have meaning in our life. We need to lead meaningful lives. We cannot simply go to work, get up in the morning, go to work, come back, sleep. That is not the kind of life that can, in the long run, make us happy, make us satisfied or contented. We ought to have before ourselves a higher goal, a higher purpose that drives us through, because this higher purpose is so important, because it is said that the belief in the fact that life is sacred works as a natural antidepressant, because you feel within yourself that you're not here for just anything. You're here to fulfill a purpose. Every time in your mind's eye, whatever be the situation, you have an arrow pointing out to your purpose. And that is something which really lifts you up and helps you go through the struggles with perseverance and with steadfastness. And the Quran, the idea that the Quran presents of this purpose is very much similar to something that you have been propounding all this while. You've been saying that every situation should really help us in growing our personality. And this is exactly the Quranic perspective. You know, the Quran uses this word called tazkiyah. Tazkiyah means purification of your soul. You ought to lead your life in such a way that everything that comes your way helps you in purifying your inner being. You shed the impurities that have gathered around you, and you keep on adding something that evolves your personality, that improves you and develops you as a better human being. So you can cultivate virtues such as patience, compassion, God consciousness, being morally upright. So these are the qualities of a purified soul, according to the Quranic view of things. And the point that you made about serving people, you know, as a means of connecting to the creator, this I think was very profound and also very relevant with respect to the times that we are going through. You know, you said that serving God helps in serving the is also a way of serving the serving people is also a way of serving the creator, because we all belong to the same family. We all are children of the divine in a way. And the prophet also once said that, you know, the best of you are those who are best to their fellow human beings. And I would like to share this incident which happened during the second wave of COVID. That was the time when my grandfather was admitted to the hospital, and he required plasma, as the plasma contains antibodies against the virus. So we sent out this message on social media platforms, and I must say that we received a response from a wide variety of people, and everybody was willing to come up and help us. There was an elderly gentleman who approached us, and he came all the way from a very far away place by himself, and he volunteered to go back by himself. He didn't even ask us to drop him back to his home. So that was that gesture by him was something that really moved me, and it really inspired me. And I realized that I too, if I get COVID and if I recover from it, I should have in me the strength, and I should have in me the large-heartedness to help people if they require my help, instead of just being selfish and thinking about myself and staying indoors and not coming outside because I might just be affected. So it's so important, as you said, that we all are we all share this humanity, and building these human relations and strengthening these human relations are a really fulfilling experience, because we feel that when I help a person, you feel that you're helping a creature or a person who's been created by the same God as you have been created. So there's no need for discriminating between people. Rather, God Almighty would be really happy with you that you are showing mercy to someone. So thank you so much for all these insights that you have gleaned from your personal experience and from your readings and your interactions with the spiritual masters. They've been very valuable. I hope people benefit from them, and I hope we continue to interact in the future. Thank you so much, Dr.
So
Mehta.
nice to have you. Nice to talk to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.